the truth of the matter, and you said it so well, Dr. Vibe, there are countless Black, African/Caribbean students, international students who are here in our cities who are struggling.
It's hard to know because we don't have like the data to say what is the state of Black health before and after. And that's something that we've been advocating for, right? We need better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm, but we need it to be done with us in a way that serves us.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner and 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team since 2020, reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And today, it's Sunday afternoon, and in around 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we do this thing called Black Canada Talking. And what is Black Canada Talking? It's where Black Canadians give their POVs, takes on stories, events, locally, provincially, nationally, internationally. And we have another great conversation coming up today. And before we go any further, I have a special friend who's going to be joining us today. There she is. Who are you?
Hi, Dr. Vibe. Angelina Williams joining you again. I'm really happy to be back on the show. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. For our Black Canada Talking audience who may not know you, probably know them. All right, there we go. That's quite the intro. Can you share a little bit about yourself with the audience?
Yeah, so my name is Angelina Williams. I am a professional in the hospitality space. I do business development consulting for hotels and restaurants across Canada, well, some international projects as well. Have recently stepped into the development space, but I do a lot of work within the community, and the title that I'm wearing for this evening is just another concerned community member. We had a conversation a few months ago about the BEPA and just responsibility, accountability, leadership within Black non-for-profit space. And so in my capacity today, I'm just coming on as a concerned community member, continuing the conversation that we started a few months ago.
I was going to ask you to share about the BBPA, but the gentleman that's coming on next is the best person to talk about the BBPA. Yeah. So and then somewhere in the conversation earlier, I'll just say you had past affiliation with the organization. I'll just leave it at that. So as I said, we're going to bring on another friend. And he is going to be with us today. It's Bryan Duarte, interim vice chairman of the BBPA, the Black Business and Professional Association. For those who don't know what it is, because I have a global audience, just to educate you on that. And Bryan will, before he gets into things, educate on what the organization does. So what we're going to do is bring Bryan up right now. Good afternoon, Bryan.
Good afternoon, Dr. Vibe.
What's going on?
Lots going on, right? Thank you for having me back on the show again. And here to talk about the BBPA. Just a slight correction: interim vice chair. Not even chairman.
I will correct that in real time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So before we go any further, for those who may not be aware of what the BBPA is all about, can you share that with us, please?
Sure. The BBPA has been around for 43 years. We are a Black serving organization. Focused on Black businesses, Black professionals, supporting businesses through various programs that have been ongoing. Youth focused programs, scholarships. We've given out over $6 million in scholarships over the year. We're very well known for the Black Excellence Award, previously known as the Harry Jerome Awards, where we've been doing that, honoring the best within the Black community. But a real focus is on the programs, helping those businesses succeed, whether it would be writing business plans with connections, specific programming we run every year, Rise Up Women's Program, celebrating women entrepreneurs. There's a host of different programs that we focus on. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few moments to update in regards to what's been going on recent over the last few months. You know, you want to provide an update on the status of the investigation, then Angelina and myself will have some questions for you. So if you want to provide an update, and then we'll have some questions for you.
Sure. So I guess the update, I mean, when I came on the show last, we were, I guess, really digging into the meat of the investigation. You know, there was allegations brought back in, there was a concern brought up at the AGM, a valid concern about, certain amounts that had been spent on going to related parties within the BBPA, going back to previous CEOs, previous boards, and then that came forward in illegal allegations coming from Miller Thompson. It came forward as from anonymous board members originally, or not board members, anonymous members, and then one of them finally declared themselves throughout the process. That was what originally, shouldn't say originally, added to what we're doing as an investigation. And we took all those allegations seriously as a board. In taking those allegations seriously, the first step we did is we had 2 previous board members that were attached to the prior board. They stepped down off the board so that the 6 of us that remained, we were new board members. We came in November of 2022, really started working in January 2023. And then 2 of us were tasked with leading this investigation. We've brought in external legal, third-party, and external accounting help to go through that investigation to make sure that it's there, it's complete. That investigation has taken a lot longer than I would have ever hoped for. It's taken a lot of my time. I can say that throughout the summer, it's probably occupied up to 30 hours a week of my time, with impacts into my other business and being able to do that. But, for me, it's about getting to the bottom of this, getting through this. But it is, it's something that is not entirely, it's not within the control of the board to say this is when it's going to get done. We put up something on our website where we were hoping to have it completed by the week of November 4th. But as new information comes forward, that's just delayed it. And because we want to make sure it's a thorough investigation. On top of that, so we've got this own internal investigation going on, which means, as you can imagine, BBPA has been around for a number of years. We're looking at a specific time period over the last 4 years where these allegations are focused on, but you're looking to find board minutes, meeting minutes, executive minutes, going through documentation, whether physical documentation in the office, whether going through electronic documentation. So, and having to assemble that, having the auditors come in, look for all these different pieces, that takes a lot of time and effort. I think they've examined almost 200,000 documents or different pieces of information. On top of that, we've been conducting interviews with past board members, current board members, current staff, past staff, to get a complete picture. So making arrangements for all that. And then when something gets uncovered, it's like, okay, let's make sure that's corroborated. Sometimes we have to go back to somebody else and interview them another time. So it's a process that takes an inordinate amount of time. And believe you me, I wish it was over. I wish we could get it done. But that's what's been going through. On top of that, you got to remember, we're a volunteer board. So the board that's here right now, we're here on a volunteer basis. We're professionals in our own right. We have our own other businesses, other things we're onto. So we're doing that. The staff right now, we've scaled our staff back down. We're down with working with a staff of only 4, but it's because, as you can imagine, with all these allegations coming forward, some funders have paused, stepped back and said, you know what, we're going to wait to see what the results are. We fortunately have some funders that are still involved and still committed with us. They said, we're in this for the long haul. We're here. We trust you. We believe in you. And we'll see what comes out of the investigation. If something changes and that changes their mindset, fine. But right now they're here with us. But those that have stepped back have, right? And I understand that. So we've had to scale back the operation. So we're running with a very limited staff right now. We've actually chosen not to staff our main office at Elm Street, 180 Elm Street, and we've moved the staff into and keeping it up in Little Jamaica in Eglinton West, because we believe it's important to be in the community, and right there we're connected right into the community. So that's going on. On top of this, we've had SBCCI, which is a government agency, doing their own audit on monies that they gave to the BBPA. FedDev, which is FedDev Development Government Organization, they've also decided to conduct an audit on what went on. We have the City of Toronto, which had given us money, that just started an audit. We had an audit with Careers Canada from interns and students that we had over the last year. And then CRA has now chimed in and says they want to do an audit on us. So all of these, as you can imagine, with this small staff, volunteer board members, and we were reaching out to some of our staff. We're reaching out to our controller, reaching out to our executive director, saying, okay, we need to assemble this information. And every time we've got a new audit coming in, that's taken away from programming, it's taken away from what we do, and we have to follow up in those audits. So it's an enormous amount of time. And I keep hoping we're getting near the end. I have not yet to see a report from the legal team, but it's going on. They keep telling me, okay, we should have it for you next week, and then something changes. So that's where we're at right now. Mm-hmm.
The initial letter from the board, from the chair of the board, mm-hmm. during that time, mm-hmm. I would say in March, I believe it was, the response to the inquiry from the membership in that letter, and now I'm paraphrasing, mm-hmm. so I don't have it in front of me right now, essentially said that parties were given contracts because they had volunteered their services mm-hmm. years prior, and mm-hmm. they essentially deserved to mm-hmm. Be paid for the work they've done in the past. And so that's why they were given these contracts. Now, mm-hmm. the BBPA has gone through literal thousands of mm-hmm. volunteers, mm-hmm. and it would be impossible to repay those volunteers for mm-hmm. the work they've done over the years. The existing board, myself, and many, 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 many others. That, I think that response in that letter was offensive, mm-hmm. disturbing. Mm-hmm. Do you still stand by what was said in that response letter, that, the BEPA is okay to award these contracts because this individual has volunteered their services in previous years?
So answering as myself, right? I'll answer this question as myself and not behalf of any board members or anyone else, because I don't want to put any words in anyone's mouth. That response was given at the time based on what we knew at the time and how we characterized the situation. Would I give the same response today? No. Do I believe that people should be compensated because they were volunteering before? No. So that is my personal stance on it, right? And that, like I said, the response given at that time, yes, it came from the board chair, but we had all contributed. I shouldn't say we all contributed. A number of us contributed to it. We made the statement based on what we knew. Some of it was made in ignorance because we did not know all the history. We did not know everything that we do know today, but that was the best response that we could give at that time. Would I love to go back and give a different response now? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Under what circumstances is that? I understand that you're saying that you didn't know what you mm-hmm. know now. All of us, same thing. But we all had the same information at the time the inquiry was made, right? And the response was given.
We didn't know. We didn't all have. I did not have the length of history like yourself had with the BBPA.
But the principles of the idea that mm-hmm. If someone volunteers their services to a nonprofit organization, and now they're working for that organization, making a considerable, being compensated considerably. Mm-hmm. And additionally, they should be paid a large sum or awarded contracts of a large sum because of the work they've done in the past. I don't know if there's additional context required to justify that, right? I would, yeah, I mean, I don't want to, without that
document right in front of me right now. It'd be hard for me to speak directly to it. But do I believe in the principles of what we wrote back then now? No, I don't, right? I'll just say it. I don't believe in it, right? I wouldn't put that out there. I appreciate would be too short a word to say I feel the impact of that statement. I feel the hurt of that statement, right? I feel how offensive it was to so many people, right? There was not enough thought on the sensitivity of what was being said, right? So if I could rewrite that statement, yes, right? What, you know, my answer just now was, we're always all doing the best we can at the time with what we have in front of us, right? That's what was done at that time. I can't change what was done, right? But I can say that, no, I don't think it should have been done that way then and should be done differently. And that's why part of what we're doing, a big part of what we're doing right now, is to make sure we're not just making what I'll call uneducated, off-the-cuff statements without the full depth in the history. And that's what we want to make sure we bring forward to the membership.
I was on a live yesterday with Black Canadian content creators with Shirley Joseph, and folks were chiming in and messaging. And there is a long-held sentiment that the BEPA is elitist, disconnected, the board is self-serving. The volunteers, and when I talk about volunteers, I'm talking about the people that check people in at the Harry Drum Awards, that help out for the different events that are put on, are not seen, right? They're just bodies. There's a feeling that the BEPA doesn't actually serve people that need the servicing, right? And also a question that continues to come up is the relevancy of the BEPA. I can only speak to what my ideal outcome is from of an investigation like this, and how much I want to see the reform for the organization. Someone actually mentioned that the way that the BEPA is run feels very much like how politicians engage with their constituents once they're voted into power, right? Very much like, I don't have to answer to you. I think actually I said that. I probably mentioned that in conversation, that you feel like the board doesn't have to answer to the membership. What do you see for the future of this organization? What's the best outcome here, given that there's so many people that feel very much turned off by this situation, and already the fact that for years people feel disconnected from the BEPA? What's the best outcome?
I'll agree with you on a lot of those points in terms of the BBPA. I've heard it before too, right? So let me just say, I don't have a history with the BBPA. I don't know what the BBPA was like, right? I knew of it, but I didn't know, I wasn't involved with it. I wasn't involved with what I was doing. So I don't know how it was being perceived, right? As an overall, but I've heard that statement that it's not acting to the people and serving its membership. Going forward, those are some of the things we want to change, right? We right now have 6 board members, right? When this report comes out and says, this is what, we found, this is what's the investigation, I fully expect the membership to say, yes or no, you have a mandate as members to continue on as board members in this organization. I'm not here because I choose to be here, but I'm also here because the membership says you should be in here and doing this, right? If at the end of this, the membership says, no, you didn't do a good enough job, you didn't do this in investigation, okay, that's their choice, right? I'm hoping they will come back and say, no, we really like what you did, we like what you've done with this, and done an investigation. This investigation plus all the other audits has taken an inordinate amount of time for us to do. To look forward to the future, and as you know, I mean, we've put it out. I don't think we publicly put it out, but when Francis retired at the end of August, Francis Del Sol, we put Stephanie in as our new executive director, right? Stephanie is on the phone with us, saying, where are we going? Where's the organization going? What's our mandate? What's we're looking for the future? She has a lot of great ideas, a lot of great thoughts. She wants to be able to connect back into the community. One of the things we did, we made a purposeful decision. Elm Street stays closed for now. We're in Little Jamaica. We're in the community where people are. So hopefully we can serve there. That was versus off in this office that is not connected. Not that that office can't be utilized for a lot of good things, but not with the staff we have right now. So we've made that decision. Going forward into the future, yes, I want more feedback from the members as what's relevant. I want more to see how should we be serving. We are doing things. We've reached out to, we've got different corporate partners that are saying they not only want to give money, they want to be part of this. They want to have their staff involved in, say, with mentorship in specific areas, right? I can say the legal firm that we have employed, they've fallen so much in love with the mission of the BBPA. They're asking us, how can we help you? How can we give back, to the community, even though they're not from the community, right? But how can we help you with your mission, right? And that's why another reason why they want to make sure it's thorough. They truly believe in the mission of the BBPA and who we're there to serve. And so we do need to make sure that we're doing that. We need to have more checks in place to make sure that that's being met. And maybe it's not just a once a year AGM. Maybe it's a check-in at other points to see what's going on. As I said, we need, if the 6 of us remain, we at least need 4 other new board members to step in that represent the community, that say, we want to step up and do this. We want to be part of it. We want, representation across Canada. We have better representation with this board than we have previously, not just Toronto based. We have Charles in Calgary, we have Towson in Halifax, in New Brunswick. We did have Rustam out in Halifax, and Rustam is stepping down. But we want to make sure that representation's there. We want to make sure we're looking to the future as our government changes, right? And funding gets pulled back with a potential change in government. What's the right strategy going forward? One of the things I'm looking at is what kind of partnerships we can build. I don't believe in this, give me whatever you're going to give me right now. No, I want to develop a long-term relationship with a funder that spans 3 to 5 years, so you can put the BBPA in a solid footing, so you're not scrambling year over year and how to do it. And I'm doing the same thing with another board that I'm the chair on, the Center of Learning and Development in Regent Park. We're making some moves, I shouldn't say dramatic, but some very good strategic moves into the future. And I love where that organization's going. And I want to bring some of that learning to this organization as well, if the membership want me, right? But it's got to make sure it's relevant and serving the people, and more checks and balances, which we will have. We've put more in, and there will be more.
So I want to ask, what are you hoping to happen after the audits are over?
What am I hoping to happen? My best case scenario is the membership says, we understand, right? We understand what was there. We thanking us for what we've done to point out where things were, what was done right, what was done wrong, where things are at, and then hopefully start working with us as a board to move forward as an organization. There is an aspect of coming to grips with the past, to say this is what was done, this is what's come out of that, but learning, more importantly, how can we learn from that and move into the future? How can we ensure that this great organization is here for at least another 42 years to continue to serve the community and to be relevant to the community, right? It cannot be an elitist organization.
All right, there's a question here. Shirley asked, does the board have plans to ensure representation from different generations as part of its composition? Most importantly, to have this representation trickle down into the membership.
I'm not sure about the second part of that, what's being asked, right? But the first part, yes, right? We need, when you're looking at a board, and and it was started with this board when I look at the different skill sets and backgrounds we each bring into it, but making sure that we've got the right skill sets on the board. Like right now, what we're missing on the board, we don't have anyone with legal expertise, right? That's something that would be good to have on the board. We do have Tosin representing the youth, but making sure there's more youth representation. I think you do have to have all the generations on the board because the interests are different between each of them. So the short answer is yes. I'm not sure what it's meant, but trickle down into the membership. I'll take a stab at that, meaning that, the same thing we see with other organizations. When we as Black people, we look to an organization, I'm very much working the startup world in the tech space, and I see those spaces which are welcoming to us, and I see those spaces that aren't. And anybody asks me any question all the time, why aren't we there? I said, we're not represented at the top, so it makes it tough to feel welcome. So the same thing within our community, I want to make sure I agree with that question there, making sure that the board reflects the broader community that we're serving, so everyone sees themselves welcome and thinks they have a voice inside the organization and steering it towards the future.
I do have a question about the board and what it is for future potential board members, and whether there is exposure liability for board members that would be coming on now shortly after the audit is complete, or because again, I'm sure that you'll continue to try to find a new BEPA, but what kind of,
This goes back to your first question about will their entire report be released, right? Because that is part of the legal risk and liability, right? So this board currently has, as the previous boards, has liability insurance, right? But if someone was to step in now inside the investigation, because some of this is being handled from an insurance perspective because of the allegations and the liability, I don't know if anyone stepping in today would be covered, right? I don't know, right?
So I'm talking about post investigation.
But a post investigation, if everything is done there and this is what's there, even us as current board members, we're only liable from the time we took position. We're in place, right? So we're not liable for past decisions, right? As a board member, I'm not liable for any decisions that were made prior to me being there. So anybody new coming on would only be liable from the point they take that position forward, right? And that's why I said they would also be provided with the entire report, so they would know, hey, this is what's there, right? And this is what's been uncovered in the past and what's there. But liability can only, speaking from a non-legal standpoint, I'm not a lawyer, don't play one on TV, nothing like that. But from what I understand, your liability would only start from the moment you took office as a board member.
With the investigation, I know I think it's not complete yet.
No,
it's not complete yet.
No.
Okay. If the investigation does show that there is misappropriation of funds or fraud, what remedies does the BEPA have to go after those parties or get back the money? What remedies are available to the organization?
So if there was fraud, right, then again, this is where I'm waiting for the final report to see what the conclusions are and so on. But my guess would be that if there's fraud, then we would have to go, it's now a criminal investigation, right? Which is also part of the reason why we've got to make sure, again, why the lawyers are saying be cautious about what's released and so on. Because if we're going after anyone, that's a different story. If it's a criminal investigation, right? If it's not fraud and there's some other reasons, right, that are not clearly fraud, then the BBPA does not have authority to go after anyone, right? We're not a regulatory body. We could sue somebody, right? So if we want to sue somebody and somebody wants to foot the bill for the BBPA to sue somebody for something, then we can do that. But on its own, we don't have the ability to do that. The BBPA, its authority, not just any charitable organization, the most you really can do is remove that individual off the board. Again, if it's a criminal matter and there's outright fraud, then it's a criminal investigation, and I guess it would involve the police or something like that. I really don't know. I would have to find that out and ask for the advice. The people with the most authority is the Public Guardian Trust and the CRA, right? The CRA, if they came in and said something was done inappropriately, they would fine the organization. So BBPA would have to pay that back if they said something was done wrong at the CRA level, right? Again, no individuals can be touched by the CRA in this case. Public Guardian Trust could go back, but a Public Guardian Trust would go after all the board members that made the decision at the time. So anyone that was on the board at any time, if they said something was done wrong, and they can go back as far as probably up to 7 years, maybe even further. They can go back and say, if something was done wrong when you were on the board or others were on the board, even though an individual did wrong, they could go after you as a board member and say, you could be responsible for paying the amount back, or you could get a sentence up to 6 months in jail. Right? So there's a lot, and these are the serious ramifications of being on a board that people don't know. Right? So all that to say, there's very little avenues for going after individuals. It's a board as a whole or the organization, unless there's a clear evidence of fraudulent doings. There's very little to go after individuals, or very little mechanisms, I should say, for going after individuals. And especially as an organization, BBPA. I said even those other more extreme mechanisms are in the regulatory authority or in the CRA.
What is the status right now as we speak of the annual awards that were formerly known as the Harry Jerome Awards? What's the status of them as we speak today?
Under discussion, right? It's under discussion on whether they should happen or not, what did they look like, what is the venue, and it's critical at this point because we have funders that are saying we're ready to fund it again, right? And again, there's questions around that. I mean, I know people look at it and say there's a lot of money for this type of event. It is. Is it needed by the community? Not needed. A good question out there. But I will say this, that the money that goes into the Harry Jerome Awards is not money that gets taken away. It's not like if we don't do the Harry Jerome Awards, we have this bucket of money over here to do more with. It doesn't exist like that. If we do the Harry Jerome Awards, we get sponsors for it because they want their name on it. They want this. We get money for that award ceremony to do the award ceremony. We don't do the award ceremony, we don't get that money. So it's not hey, it can be redirected somewhere else.
So based on what you know today, what would you have done differently?
Run far, far, far away.
Not a straight answer.
The honest answer off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lost sleep over this. I said I've lost money over this. It's taken a lot out of me personally, taken a lot out of my family from doing this. And I still believe in what it's doing, right? I believe I'll toot my own horn. Most people will not take this on the way I would take it on, right? And go into it and dig and dig and dig and make sure that everything is uncovered. I am not necessarily the best, as I said before, in how do we get back out? How do we communicate to everyone what's going on? But to dig into it, yeah. So you put something like this in front of me, I'm going looking, right? I'm going to go uncover. I want the truth. My core values are love, transparency, and integrity. And that transparency piece governs a lot of what I do, right? And so I have to uncover it. So as I said, other than, the gut reaction of trying to run away from this, there's it, knowing now we just got to go through and do it. But I honestly believe the organization that comes out is stronger, better, and better positioned to serve our community.
Is there anything the organization is not doing right now that you feel you should be doing?
Yeah, if we weren't doing the investigation, we would be making strategic plans for the next years, looking to see. One of the things I think the BBPA did not do well in the past was collaborations and partnerships with other Black organizations, right? And they're not the only one, but I'll just speak for the BBPA because that's where I am operating in this group. I was so proud when I was at Collision this year, and you see the Black Entrepreneurship Alliance and the group that was there, where you had ACBN, Nobellum, Black Entrepreneur out of Black Founders Network out of University of Toronto, the group out of York University, all working together to support the Black tech ecosystem. And I must say this, the Black tech ecosystem across Canada is doing a much better job in working together and collaborating. So I want to bring some of those learnings from those groups and bring the BBPA and other organizations in together. How can we work together? How can we get away from this mentality of this is our area and this is ours and we're going to hold on to it tight? No, you're better equipped to serve that group. We'll support you. You serve that group. We're better equipped to serve this particular group. We'll serve this particular group. And it's tough conversations, but I think it's a conversation that becomes easier going forward when you have a board that really we don't have an interest in being in the day-to-day. We're not a working board. Well, a couple of us are right now, so let's call it what it is, but really should not be a working board. Oversight, governance of the organization. And so the board now doesn't have that vested interest of, taking care of anything. So it's like, how can we work together? And I've already put those feelers out. Had conversations with a number of the other Black organizations to say, how can we work together? How can we look what's best? How can we collaborate, especially if we're going after particular grants and so on? So it's not just one going at it. We're going as a group and not satisfied with, oh, you get your little piece here, you get your little piece there. No, we're going as a group and we want a larger amount for all of us. So that's one of the things I think we really need to look at doing better.
One thing that I hear, and I know we're getting ready to wrap up, Dr. Vibe, but one thing that I hear a lot in conversations and folks ask questions about what's the mandate of the BEPA, right? Who are they serving? What's the organization serving? Who are they serving? And whether or not the BEPA is living up to their mandate presently, or does the mandate need to change?
The mandate needs to be defined. Right? I don't think it's well defined. We, as a board, have some thoughts and suggestions on where we're going, right? But we know we need to get through this investigation and so on to get to the next side. So we've not spent the time to really set, here's the vision for the future and where we're going. I know back then they had this vision of making the organization into a $40 million organization. That plan is off the road. So we really need to figure out who we're serving and where we're going, right? Right now, under Stephanie's direction, Stephanie Sandy Edwards, we're doing a lot of focus on Black youth, right? And we've got programming because it's almost building off of the BBPA's legacy, which the two legacies of the BBPA have been the award ceremony and scholarships. That's something that's been there for most of its history. So taking from that scholarship program, how can we make sure we're continuing to serve Black youth, because we still have scholarship dollars that have come to us. So we've continued to put wraparound services around Black youth in delivering those. So that is, won't call it a mandate, but that's one of our areas of focus right now. Looking to see, for being a member of the BBPA, what does that mean, right? So being an independent myself, running small businesses, one of the things I actually have someone investigating right now, and don't hold me to this because I haven't got it figured out if we can do it yet, but I would love to see a benefits package, because too many small businesses, as you go out there, as you're a solopreneur or small business, you can't buy insurance benefits or health benefits and so on as an individual, but maybe that's something we can offer. And I have someone that is working diligent for me right now on seeing, is this possible? And then we'll figure out who we have to tender it to and so on. But is it a possibility for the BBPA? And when I say working on it, not a cost to the BBPA, right? But working to see, is this a possibility that we can bring to the membership? Because I think we need to deliver more value to our members, right? What does it mean if you're paying money in for a membership, whether on an annual basis? Is that worth it, right? What are you getting for it? So those are some of the things that we're looking at. So we're continuing to inch along, but we don't have this clear, this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm.
Bryan, I want to just build on that, because the first two, what's the word I'm looking for? Areas you mentioned were youth and chips, correct?
Youth and what, sorry?
You said youth, and there was like the two areas you're focused on right now.
Yeah, the area we're focused on is youth programming, building off of our scholarship programming.
Okay.
We've had BMO continue on, like as I said, we've had some funders. BMO is a funder, is still at the table. Partly too, they gave, and this is one of the things I like, they gave a 3-year commitment. So we could take any student that was getting it, they weren't just getting a 1-year thing. Every year they were in school, they continue to get it. So the scholarship program is still one of our strengths. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then my question is, it's the Black Business and Professional Association. So where does the business part of that come into that?
Yeah, and that's a missing.
Okay.
It's a missing, sorry, I should say this. It's a missing, I'm saying that's one program. We still have other programs from businesses. We still have the Rise Up program that's supporting Black women entrepreneurs, right? So Black businesses. The youth that we're taking through the scholarships, it's not just a scholarship, it's how can we provide services. So for example, Loblaw is coming in and doing a mentorship program for them. What do you need to do in these particular areas as you go out and do professional development? So it's almost professional development for these students, because these are university age students. So that's the professional side, and we still have programs focused on businesses as well. So I would say it's still being a Black professional and business association.
So it seems as if one could make the argument that it seems as if that the BEPA structures its offering based on what funding it can receive.
Every charitable organization structures its offerings based on the funding it can receive. Yes, that is the way I would say 90-something% of charities work across Canada, if not higher than 90-something%, and that's a problem. Because everyone goes to what's the latest funding, let's jump to that direction. And if you remember my earlier comment of making these long-term partnerships, right? So we can come together with the organization saying, what's it that we want to serve? What is it we want to do? Let's make preferably a 5-year commitment of this is where we're going. So you're not only having a direction, but you're funded for that full mandate versus every year just jumping to where the funding is, right? And why I said the BBPA focusing on youth, because that has been something consistent over its history of getting that scholarship money. So that's not a change in any mandate. That is just focusing on an area where we have been getting, where it's been doing and working in that area for a long period of time. I mean, there's been over $6 million in scholarships awarded. So we know that that's an area that BBPA has shown some strength in.
Yeah, I'll leave that other
I mean,
meeting.
I agree with you that you jump where the funding is, and I don't like that thing, and that's what I'm saying. We need to put a focus into the future, but you've got to be able to fund it, right? But jumping to whoever's funding you next, no, I don't agree with doing that.
All right.
It seems that I think, and it's not just the BBPA, but other Black community organizations, the challenge that we have is, or I see the TAD is, we always have to put our hand out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you're always having to put out your hand out, you're controlled by those who put whatever it is in your hand. And I'm not just saying this is a macro thing, not a micro thing that I'm talking about. Do you feel that there could be not a better financial support from people who look like us to these organizations?
We're going to get into a lot of philosophy questions here right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that would help. I mean, I look at the same thing in the tech space, right? Myself and others have run a training program for Black investors in the tech space to teach them what it's like to invest in the tech space, so that more people that look like us can be investing in companies built by people like us. So yes, that is a thing, but it's also one of the beauties with the BBPA being at the bottom right now, if I call it that, is we're not jumping after every dollar. We've already pushed back on a couple of organizations that said, oh, we can give you this amount of money, but you want me to do this, this, and this. We said no. We said, if you want to give us the money, this is how we're going to use it. This is what it's needed to do. So if you have a mandate to spend the money, this is how you're going to spend that money, right? And I think too many Black organizations have done exactly what you're saying, Dr. Vibe. Oh, give me what you can, right? I think it is a part of who this current board is, and our backgrounds and our expertise, that we're going to say, no, this is what we want to do, and this is what do we want the money for, versus just this handout. And they said, what's a long-term partnership? We're talking, as I said, with corporations. How can we tie you in? How can we bring you into part of this so we're working together for a better future, versus just, hey, we take your check and deliver on something?
Angelina, anything else?
No, I think that we've answered a lot of questions, and I know that any other questions I have, of course, would be best asked in the form of the members meeting. I do really appreciate Bryan jumping on with us and answering all. I know it felt like a firing squad, but I do appreciate you answering some of these questions. We could kind of get down into the details of things, but I understand that the report isn't complete yet, and that kind of limits, some of the questions that additional questions that I have. So I guess we have to wait until the report is completed and we have the members meet, because I do believe that this information should be shared with the members first before it's shared in a public forum like this. But I do know there are people that are members of the community and not members of the BEPA that have interest in this matter as well. Other Black organizations have interest in how well the BEPA is doing and how they navigate this difficult time. I do want to, something I've said on other platforms, but I'll let you say it, Bryan. For those that are interested in the future of the BEPA, how best can they aid in kind of helping you navigate these waters and get to better times?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say first and foremost, please be patient with us, that we are trying to do everything right and go through this and get to the end of this investigation, right? I said it's not serving anyone drawing out. So we're trying to go through as fast as possible and get to that members meeting, as you say, Angelina, so we can share it with the membership what's come up. So that's the first thing, is asking for patience. The second thing is, when we go to the next step, right? People volunteer and ask, how can we help, right? and saying, not only how can we help, probably be better to saying, this is how I can help, right? Because we're still framing it. This is how I can help. This is what I can contribute in terms of time. To your point, Dr. Vibe, this is what I can contribute in terms of money, right? You know, whether it's an endowment of sort that goes on for forever to support scholarships or a particular type of thing, right? But come forward with answers, not just questions, right? And yes, all can't be taken, all solutions can't be there, right? We're not yet in that place for that solid long-term footing for the future, and that's where we have to get through this investigation. We've got to get through the CRA audit too, as well. And I mean, what I'm hoping at the end of this, given the number of investigations, everyone's going to say, okay, you guys have been thoroughly gone through, investigated. There's nothing hidden, right? Because of how many people have looked at it beyond the investigation that we initiated. But yeah, going into the future, come forward with suggestions on how to make it work. So bring me answers. Mm-hmm.
What's the best form for them to convey? Sorry.
Go ahead, Angelina. Go ahead. You're reading my alleged mind. Go ahead.
You know, it would be reaching out to us as a board. I mean, I've put my email up there, Bryan@bbpa.org. You've got, you know, the rest of the board members. Realistically, as I said, until we get through this investigation, we're not in a place to really execute anything. We don't have the staff, we don't have the funding to execute on things. But that's the way to get a hold of me. As I said, as a volunteer with everything else, I'll be honest that I will get to things when I get to things. But definitely when we have the report done, we have the members meeting talking about their set plans in place to have the next AGM, specifically from the next AGM onward. That's where people need to step up. Okay, I'm willing to be on the board. I'm willing to give this much time, and I'm willing to do this. Or you know what? I'm willing to be part of this group because part of this committee looking at this particular thing, and we'll figure out how to do this together going forward.
All right. Mm-hmm. Well, I think you do have a life, at least another life, and we're gonna let you get to it. I want to say Angelina and myself want to say thank you so much for taking the most valuable thing, your time, to share with all of us. And I know that this will be enough people watch it live and enough people watch it on replay. There's a contact information for the organization on your screen. If you're watching on most of the platforms, it's in the comments section. And I've also put Bryan's email address also as part of what we've put out there. So no excuses. Now, he may be a little bit delayed getting in touch with you because he does have a few things to do other than this, but certainly reach out to him. And I know that there'll be more. Bryan, I want to say thank you for taking time because I know you haven't come on many platforms to share about this, but appreciate you coming on this one with myself and Angelina. So as always, want to say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. You do have a supporter saying, Bryan, your mental health and well-being as well as the rest of the board is important. Please prioritize self-care and much needed breaks with stepping away at times to take care of yourself.
Thank you for saying that. Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Tachi from Fort Lauderdale says, this is great. Look into something I don't know much about before. Thank you so much. So we're going to let you go, Mr. B. We will be in touch.
I just wanted to say thank you to you, Dr. Vibe, for giving the platform the opportunity. Made it easy to put it out there, right? Angelina, as always, you know, Angelina is the person that gives me a hard time, right? People say your work. No. Angelina gives me a hard time. Angelina is on my case, right? Pushing. And, you know, even when I disagree with her sometimes, I actually really, really appreciate her. And I really appreciate what she represents and, you know, representing the community that's not in the board doing it. So I thank you, Angelina. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Bryan. Thank you.
All right.
All love.
There we go. Thank you, Bryan. All right. Ms. Angelina, you know what? If you're ever looking to join me on any conversations, we need you.
So the individual said, who appointed Angelina the voice of the membership? I thought that was humorous.
My goodness, what is this? So, so just a few last things for you. Is it your vision at this time to have a meeting with the membership? Is that in your vision right
Absolutely.
now?
I think, and Brian's right. I do give him a hard time. I really do give him a hard time. And the reason why I give him a hard time is because, one, I believe in the organization. I believe in the vision of the founders. I also have a personal standard that I operate by, but also there are individuals in the community that ask me questions
Yes.
about what the board is doing and how, like, why isn't this happening and who's whatever. And I can convey to them all I can, but it benefits them to hear directly from Bryan, right? So you have, like, constantly pushing for this members meeting allows the board to speak directly to the membership, right? We pay these member dues every year. And we want to ensure that the organization stays viable and relevant. And this is not an easy time for anyone. I believe that the individual that commented, Bryan, take care of your mental health. It is a volunteer position. I know exactly what it's like as being a former board member and the chair of the Harry Drum Awards. It is a lot of hours you're putting in. You're not getting paid to do it. You're doing it straight off of, like, love and dedication to the community. Right. And I have said it before, and I'll say it again. If people are upset, frustrated, angry, confused, passionate about what's happening with the organization, get involved. Get involved with the BEPA, get involved with other Black organizations within your community, get involved with your government, right? So your municipal
all levels.
Yeah, your local government, your provincial government, and the federal government. We have to use our voices, right? It's so easy to stand on the outside and complain about all the things that are wrong. It takes a lot of dedication and courage and passion to actually put yourself out there in front. And, and again, I'm not just giving Bryan a hard time. I am a person that puts my money where my mouth is, right?
From the first time I met you, 100%.
I put my money where my mouth is. And the few people that did step forward from the concerned members group offered our I don't say services, but offered to aid in the investigation, right? And help any way that we can, whether it be aiding and crafting a marketing strategy so that this information is disseminated to the members appropriately, developing a strategy on how to build the BPA back after this investigation is over. And I'm sure that the board will take advantage of these offers when the time is right. But we are involved, and we are giving our time, not did give our time, we are giving our time. And it is difficult, but if you love your community, you show up for your community.
So I'll ask you this question that I asked Bryan. What are you hoping to happen after the audits are over?
So one of the things that was said to me early on when I first lent my voice to the CBC article was, that I was being used to tear down a Black organization, which I took great offense to. I've said this before. Organizations or publications like By Blacks did a deep dive on what was taking place at the BEPA. It is important for us to hold ourselves accountable, and it's important to make sure that our organization, our legacy organizations, rise above this stuff, right? Like this alleged misappropriation of funds, and we use By Blacks as I shouldn't say we used, but By Blacks was a vehicle in which this story was disseminated far and wide, and we're so grateful for the team there that was a voice of the community. My desire for the organization and the community afterwards is that other organizations that might not be so up on their governance and their bylaws and not really, crossing their T's and dotting their I's. They'll take this as an opportunity to say, hey, we got to get our house in order as well. I want our organizations to remember that it's the community that they serve, right? They're beholden to the community. I know that when I said that, Bryan kind of pushed back and said, well, we serve the organization. Well, this organization serves the community. The organization gets its funding because of the community that it's saying that it serves, right? There are 400 registered members, I think over 400 registered members for the BEPA. They're able to get that funding because of that membership, right? And so what I would love to see happen is that the communities within our organization, the organizations within our community remember that it's the community that they serve, and really figure out ways about on how to serve the community. We talked about the mandate for the BEPA, and I love that he was so honest and said, well, the mandate's not very clear. And we understand that, we can see that the mandate's not very clear with the BEPA right now. We're not really sure in terms of like who are they serving. I love that the youth are getting these scholarships, but there's a number of organizations that offer scholarships to youth, but not enough organizations that offer help to start up small businesses, right? And not just businesses in the sexy industries such as tech, but the dry cleaners and the mechanic shops and the service providers, the restaurants and so on and so forth. There are so many businesses, small and medium-sized businesses within our community that could use the help and the guidance and the resources of the BEPA. So kind of really focusing on what that mandate is and narrowing it down a little bit more, I think would be something great that will come out of this whenever the investigation is completed.
Yeah, that's one of the big concerns I have is when, because all these different investigations going on, it's going to be interesting to see when this information finally gets out.
We've been waiting.
Yes, absolutely. And we will continue to wait, correct?
I mean, I still think that a members meeting needs to be called, or something needs to happen. Even I know that they're waiting for the investigation to be completed, but we can't wait forever. I think the effectiveness of the organization depends on this wrapping up sooner than later.
Okay. Do I have permission to put up your Instagram handle if people want to get in touch with you?
Sure, why not?
All right. All right. So that is where you can get a hold of. I'm going to put it out there. I hope that you join me on more conversations. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but if you ever have the time, the mic, the screen is open and waiting for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dr. Vibe. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss this very important matter on your platform. That's appreciated. Something
tells me we are going to be together again, because I know that as soon as the report comes out, I think we'll be having another conversation.
I think so.
Yeah. So before we let everybody go today, if you want to get a hold of me, those are all the different places. Website, the drvibeshow.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram at the drvibeshow. X/Twitter, which I'm going to be leaving soon for Blue Sky, by the way, at drvibeshow, and email address dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. You can catch replays of this epic conversation on The Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and on my website, the drvibeshow.com. I'll put a challenge out to everybody. Contact me so I can just show your support for having Angelina on more. That's what we want. That's what I'm talking about. We need to get Angelina on more, but she's got, believe me, family, to get, you think Bryan's tough to get a hold of? She's not too.
I will always make time for you in the community. I'll always make time.
I know that, and I believe that. So be careful what you ask for, because family, you heard that live now, because I'm going to reach out to her periodically to get her on here, because you are fantastic on this platform.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for everyone that tuned in.
Yeah, and live or on the replay. Thanks, everyone. And please contact us. Well, maybe contact me a little bit more because Angelina's getting everything. Come to me, but I'll probably end up going to her anyways. But, start with me first. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good.